Welcome to another episode of the Days to Happy podcast. Today, we have Brittany Bennion. Brittany is a fantastic individual. I've had an opportunity to get to know her a little bit. And man, she's been doing some amazing things. First of all, she works at Pattern in e-commerce. At the same time, she is very purpose driven. And one of the things that she does is she is a board member on the Sharing Place.
Thank you so much for the introduction. The biggest thing about the Sharing Place is that it's focused on children who are experiencing grief from the death of a loved one.
Yes.
So the mental well-being that comes associated with the grief experience. So a grief support.
Well, and that's really a unique kind of opportunity. I mean, I was older when my own father passed away, and I was relatively younger when my grandmother passed away, and there was never anything there. It was kind of expected to just get over that. So I'm definitely going to go back in some of this and see how you help to cope with that. But you also have an interesting journey yourself. You are one of the happiest people that I've ever had the opportunity to speak with, and and the reason that you got involved in this, from what I understand and assuming, is because you also suffered grief and loss as a young person, and that empathy that you feel for the participants going through this has got to be something amazing. But would you mind going into the experiences that you were going through when you and the feelings when you were going through your own grief, and what mended that, and then eventually what led you onto this journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So Maurice, you said it perfectly. For so many years, like there are tons of people who experience grief, especially in their youth,
Yeah.
that don't have any type of resources. And that was my experience. So when back in 2004, when I had just completed my first year of college, so I was 17 years old, I had a very unfortunate event that led me to experience grief and heavy grief in my late childhood, early adulthood.
Right.
One of my dearest friends and roommates ended up getting kidnapped, and her name was Brooke Wilberger. And this was a national story
My
for
goodness.
months and months, that had occurred. And I'll give you all the details and background of it. But
Yeah.
long story short, this happened fairly recently after the Elizabeth Smart kidnapping. So
Yes.
there were a number of different news outlets that were covering the story. We were close. She was away from Utah. We were going to school together at Brigham Young University. She was away for the summer, helping assist her brother and sister-in-law in their apartments. They owned an apartment building. She was working for them for the summer, and got taken while she was in the middle of the workday. And I just remember one of our other roommates giving me a call, and I was so excited to hear from her. And she said, "No, Brittany, this is not good. Brooke is missing, and we can't find her."
Oh,
And anyways, for years after that, my life and my world just fell apart because I was very heavily involved in trying to get the word out, trying to find her, trying to manage through this grief. And
right.
there was no support for me.
Right.
Um, so here we are 20 years later, and I connect with an amazing woman named Britta Kobayashi, who is now the president of the board of directors for the Sharing Place. And essentially, she was like, "Brittany, I feel like there's like something about you. There's some grief, some loss, some things that you can connect and relate to on this board." And she had never heard my story. Because generally stories like this, you can typically just keep and hold to yourself.
Right.
I very rarely share this part about me, but it influenced every single part of my life moving forward.
Right.
And um, the more I got to learn about the Sharing Place and the hope and support that it offers individuals, the more I was like, oh, if only I had had something like this in my youth to be able to navigate it, what a difference that would make in my life.
Right.
Um, yeah. So uh, like 1 in 15 children in Utah experience the death of either a parent or a sibling. So
Right.
this is such a widespread issue that being able to have grief support is incredibly valuable. And that's why I'm so passionate about the work that's being done at the Sharing Place.
Oh my goodness. And you bring up that Wilberger case. I remember that one pretty well because I used to live in Oregon and
Mm.
not far from where she was taken. And the thing that I remember about that is it was ridiculously traumatic, ridiculously traumatic. I also remember the resilience of her family. That resilience of the family was inspiring, and they tried to see the bright side of things through that entire process. Now, being the father of daughters myself, and knowing a bunch of my manly man friends have daughters too, we're basically we're mush.
Little teddy bears.
Right, the big daddy bears, and that I can't even comprehend what they went through and what you went through being that close to individual that was probably as close to perfect as you could possibly get. And if you wouldn't mind, and if it's not too personal, what was that process to go through? But also, even more importantly, how did you connect with the family? Because I'm sure they were even looking at their story, they were probably comforting you as well. And just seeing what it is that does, because I'm trying to comprehend that, and I wouldn't ever wish that on someone. That is just so crazy. But it sounds like there was a community of healing.
Yes, and Maurice, you're exactly right. Cami and Greg are some of the strongest, most amazing individuals on the face of this planet, and they were before this experience, and
Yeah.
they are tenfold after this experience.
Wow.
And it was always a comfort when I spoke with Cami. Um, she was comforting us. She was comforting Brooke's friends,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm so grateful for her. Um, I remember we were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah.
And after Brooke was taken, Cami and Greg, they came down. They had ties. They are from Oregon, but they have ties to the state of Utah and came down for a large conference, gathering of our church. A general
Yeah.
conference is what we call it. And they had invited Brooke's roommates to come
Oh, wow.
and go to general conference with them, and just the messages and the love that they gave, and the kindness that they shared to us, it's overwhelming. And we still exchange Christmas cards to this day. um,
Wow.
I've been able to see like Brooke's little sister grow up and have a beautiful family, and stay connected to the things that Cami is doing. But to answer your original question, it was incredibly traumatizing. Went through, of course, all of the stages of grief, but I remember distinctly a couple of weeks into this process. So this is it. The situation is slightly unique in that it wasn't just like um, a very sudden, like one and done. We just
Yes.
didn't know, right?
Yeah.
Like it extended for years, actually.
Right.
Um, and we didn't know if she was alive, if she was, how the circumstances surrounding her being taken.
Right.
There were a ton, like so many persons of interest. Some they kind of got really far down the road and
Yeah.
as them as a suspect, and then it turned out to be a dead end. And
Right.
it didn't we didn't get full understanding of the story for years to come. Like I had gotten married and had 2 kids before the news release came out that we actually knew what had happened and where Brooke was.
Right.
But throughout it all, yeah, Cami was just such a strength, and it was hard because I was angry. I was
Yeah.
angry
Yeah.
so much, and to hear, and like Cami, when she would call to give an update, sometimes um I was, because of the ties to Utah,
Oh,
myself and my friends that were still living in Utah were heavily uh, uh, connected to the news sources. So
oh yeah.
anytime
Yeah.
something new came on about the story, we'd get, our phones would light up from the reporters wanting to talk to us, get information. And Cami was very kind, and she would call us ahead of time and say, "Hey, there's some new information that's going to be released. We just wanted to give you the facts, let you know what's going on, and prepare you, because once this gets released, they understood how it was impacting our lives as well."
Right.
So just little things like that,
Right.
where they were so concerned and cognizant about the people that were in Brooke's lives, and it was such a strength,
Right.
to myself and the other roommates that experienced this.
That is absolutely amazing. One of the, as you're saying that, one of the strongest emotion I felt, even just reading about it, was an immense sense of anger. And anger, I've found if anger, if it's not curtailed, it's to your demise. And it is so powerful. It blind when they say anger is blind, it truly, truly is. When I look at her parents and that degree of perspective, I'm blown away. Absolutely blown away. But when I see you going through that grieving process, and again, let's face it, when after that denial thing and that anger hits, it's brutal. How did the degrees of anger start to come down? Because that I found, and this is just my own personal experience, is that once that's there, you start to heal. You start to gain your own perspective, but that was so close to the hip for you. What was that like?
Ah, I will say that, the idiom about time heals all wounds
Mhm.
is exactly correct. A lot of it just takes time,
Mhm.
and being able to sit in your grief and know that that's a totally realistic human emotion,
Right.
um, and trying to push that away is not at all going to be the answer. I remember, my anger at God, my
Uh-huh.
anger at other people around me. That was a strange thing. Is
Yeah.
I would be sitting in a room, and people would be talking about their lives,
Yes.
and my I was so consumed with what's happening. Where is she? What's the next step? How do I get information?
Yeah.
That I would be angry at the people around me who were carrying on with their lives. Because I was like, don't
Yeah.
you understand? Don't you understand what's going on? And how dare you talk to me about the weather or your dog or something?
Yes.
Um, but it took a lot of it took a lot of time. But I think one of the things that was very interesting to me was information.
Hmm.
Information was my friend. Information was what made me feel grounded in being able to move forward. And that's not something that we generally talk about, but the more
Yeah.
I learned about what was happening and how to process that and kind of get it down to like the facts,
Yes.
the more I was able to actually process it and be okay. And that's one thing, kind of bringing back to some of the tenets of the sharing place,
Yeah.
that they've locked this down. So, for example, when an individual comes to sharing place, during our sessions, we go around the room and we talk about our person who has died, and they
Hmm.
use the terms "my person has died." Not that they've passed away, not that they were lost, not that they have gone on to a better place, because it actually grounds you in truth and fact, and it allows you to then start to process these emotions in a very healthy space. So for me, I didn't know that my person had died. I didn't
Yeah.
know that Brooke had died at this point in time because I didn't have that information. But the
Right.
information that I did have was grounding and healing. And that started to allow me to say, let's put the facts together, and how do I feel relative to those facts, and knowing that I couldn't control the
Yeah.
things that I didn't have factual information about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where you start to kind of climb out of that anger and get more into like the logical part. That does take time. That does take
Yeah.
going through the grieving
Yes.
process, of course. But that was a friend of mine that I didn't think, um, that I didn't realize would be helpful besides, time, but facts and information were very helpful for me.
Right. My goodness. You said one word that summarizes it all. It's very consuming. Grief, anger, all that is just so incredibly consuming. And looking at what you're doing there, the sharing place too, it's youth. And you sometimes don't know any better. You look at the consumption, let's call it consumption consuming type of thing. When they get into something, they get into something. You look at the latest video game, you look at anything, but also when you look at the very vulnerable state that I remember myself as I thought I was tough. Man, I was a wimp. And didn't realize how vulnerable I truly was and giving into that consuming feeling that I'm not enough, that consuming feeling that I'm ticked off at the world or the world doesn't like me or blah 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 blah. And it's time. But as a teenager, I wanted to rush the time. I wanted to just, you don't get me, therefore you are no value to me, that kind of thing. When a kid comes in like that, what is the way that or how do you connect with that individual to get past, because that's a hard barrier to get through in my own experience that I've found. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. The biggest thing that I think is a block for youth and that are experiencing grief is that they feel like nobody gets them. And so, I mean, what youth actually feels like somebody gets them to begin with, but when you're experiencing some big emotion, it's even exacerbated that way.
Yeah.
But the unique thing about the sharing place is that they are coming to a place where actually everybody gets them,
Huh.
because everybody who is in this community, in this support grief group, has experienced the death of a loved one.
Wow.
It's where they're no longer this unique anomaly in the room.
Yeah.
I get the honor of being able to hear so many different stories. And one youth came and shared a story about how she was sitting in her classroom, and she had one of her parents had actually passed away when she was very young.
Right.
So she was living with her grandmother and the remaining parent, and that parent ended up passing away in a completely separate incident.
Oh man.
And she was in school, and not too much time had passed had gone since her second parent had died, and the teacher called her out to the classroom saying, and now this individual's other parent has died, so now she's an orphan. Now,
Oh.
totally taboo of the teacher, right? But think about how isolating that is for a
Yes.
teenager or
Yes.
a young child. How isolating, and pointed out that's
Yeah.
horrible. But when they come to the sharing place, and
Yeah.
every single person goes around the room and talks about how they've had this very similar gut wrenching experience, how connected are they then? How seen
Yes.
are they
Yes.
then? And how much of a community
Yeah.
do they now have? And that's what
Huh.
the sharing place offers that you don't get anywhere else.
That's pretty cool. You actually just teleported me back to my youth. I'm old now. And when I was growing up, I grew up in Utah. I was one of the only guys that looked like me in the 70s. I didn't know any better until I was told I was different. And there was always that underlying factor of I am different, but I got to the point where it was easy to say, yeah, I'm not different. And I never embraced that. And then I remember I went and served a religious mission in Hawaii. And if you've been to Hawaii, everyone looks like me.
That's right.
Some or another. And I remember one dude came up to me and just go, you're saying your last name wrong. And it's just like, it's not Matsamori, it's Matsamori. I go, what are you talking about? It's a Japanese name, blah, blah, blah. And it was so funny because all of a sudden I cannot say, you don't get it. I go, you totally get it. You just accepted yourself, man. And so it was such an eye-opening experience. And to your point, it's because there are people that have either been through there or that were them. They were truly themselves. And so it was the first time that I experienced that in such a powerful but simple way. I still laugh about it in this time, but some of my nearest and dearest friends have come from that experience because there are people that went there that had gone through the same thing I did. And because they moved from the mainland or they flip-flopped. It was interesting. Moved from the mainland to Hawaii or from Hawaii to the mainland. And then the differences and you get together and you talk to those stories.
Uh-huh.
And inadvertently, you're starting to help each other heal, man.
Really are.
Yeah.
You're finding that connection community, and that's where healing comes, right?
Right.
That's where you get to come out and you can kind of like your heads are out of the clouds
Right.
and you can say, okay, this person is on this part of their journey and I'm on this part of my journey, but
Yeah.
it's a very similar journey. And
Yes.
so I can either receive help from those who are maybe a little bit further along, or
Right.
I can give help to those who are just starting.
Oh,
The
man.
typical tenure of a child in the sharing place is about 2 years, and so and it's not necessarily right after the grief happens. In fact, we encourage individuals to get like clinical therapy help
Yes.
immediately afterwards, because this is not it's not a clinician. We don't have therapists. It's all
Right.
volunteer based. But most everybody that is a volunteer is there because they love it, because they have also had very similar experiences. So we
Wow.
have a high level of training for all of our volunteers. But at the end of the day, a volunteer is just a facilitator
Yeah.
for the work that happens for the individuals who are coming to experience and help one another.
Oh,
Um,
man.
and that's where the magic happens. Like you walk into we have 4 different locations in the state of Utah.
Right.
But you walk into a location and there is a distinct sense of grounding and peace.
Yes.
Some all of our locations have different areas. We've got some have walls where individuals can put pictures of their person who died, so that they
Right.
can have like a living representation of them.
Yes.
Or we have what we call the volcano room, which is just like a padded room where kids who are younger in particular can like literally jump and scream and throw and bounce against the wall and experience this, and they can do it together. And when you're like, I'm angry, you're angry, it's okay to be
Yeah.
angry,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Right.
So we have lots of different ways for individuals to express how death is affecting them,
Yes.
and it allows them to continue to, like, once again, not feel alone, find the community, move forward, and have that support that doesn't come from traditional therapy either,
Right.
right?
Oh,
Because it's very experiential based.
yes. And that experience is it's such an often neglected fact because we want to come at it from a preachy or book filled type of prescription. And you've got to be that's the whole thing that I've found is that if it's too prescriptive, that it doesn't allow the flexibility for true growth to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that impacts negatively where the intent was a positive thing, right? And it sounds like you're
Yeah.
going, it's really okay to bounce off the walls, man. Your parents are going to think we're nuts over here, but we're, it's
No.
go have at it. And
Go. And we do there's all sorts of activities, things from like writing your hopes and wishes and dreams,
yeah,
with you and the individual that died, and then recognizing that those will
yeah,
never be realized, and that
yeah,
it's okay to
yeah,
live and hold that space of those unrealized dreams and unrealized hopes.
oh,
um and that it's best to confront in a safe space, to be able to continue to move forward instead of holding those feelings and stuffing them deep down inside,
yes,
where that anger then starts to turn to now it's repressed anger and aggression, and uh, could get you into significantly like a world of hurt moving
yep,
forward.
yep, Yeah.
It stunts your growth if you're not able to confront the grief that you're trying to work through.
Yes. Well, I want to get personal again. Going back to your own trauma, how did you allow yourself to start to heal?
How did I allow myself to heal? I I didn't have the resources that are currently available.
Right.
This being 20 years ago, like there was no group, there was no chat bot that I could
Right.
talk to, there was no therapist, there was no Google even. I mean, like this is aging me, but like we barely had Google to ask how to get through
Right.
this. I will say I did go and see like a clinical therapist
Uh-huh.
to walk through things. I think the number one thing that helped me to continue to move forward was was twofold. One was journaling.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
nice. Yep.
uh, and to this day, I still journal,
Yep.
and it was the ability to allow me to get my thoughts and feelings out. And when I go back and look at my journals from that time, what a blessing that is to me to
Yeah.
be able to recognize and I can you can feel all of the anger and frustration that comes back, it floods back as you're reading through those memories again.
Yep.
But being able to record that and be completely truthful about how I was feeling. So being able to journal was one thing that very much helped me. And then the second, this is just my personality,
Right.
is understanding like facts.
Yeah.
Is I was the person that ended up getting involved. I was the one that was helping to organize search efforts. I was the liaison between uh, the the news organizations from what was happening up in Oregon, what was happening here in Utah. I was organizing the candlelight vigils at Brooks
Yep.
1 year marking of her disappearance.
Right.
Um, the other thing was connecting with the other roommates that were
Mm.
experiencing the exact same things as me. Because once again, nobody knew what I was going through. Not my
Yes.
parents, not my siblings,
Yep.
not anyone else. But it was the friends that we were all together with.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and one thing that we did was, and this was um, a tradition that Brooks' family had asked us to participate in.
Right.
And on the year mark of Brooks' disappearance, every year, we go out and buy a pair of shoes. Now, uh, definitely like the dream of every girl, right? To be like, oh,
Sure.
I have a really good excuse to go buy a cute new pair of
Right.
shoes. But this was something that Brooke absolutely loved. She loved shoes, and it was a fun way for us to remember her, to
Yes.
memorialize her, to do something in that community and that connection, and for us to continue to stay connected to Brooke.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Yeah.
so it's interesting because trauma lives, you hold it in your body.
Yes.
Um, and so I do know that right around the end of May, which was when Brooke was taken and everything happened, like um, I tend to feel more subdued, whether
Mm.
it's subconscious or not. And sometimes I just ask myself, I'm like, okay, May, I mean, let's talk about it. May is just such a busy month for people in
Yes.
general. And
Yes.
um, but right around the 24th, which is when Brooke was taken, and when we found out the information, 24th, 25th, 26th was kind of that timeline for her. I generally find myself being like,
Sure.
that still hurts,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
20
Yeah.
years later, uh, all of the life events
Yes.
um, that have happened and occurred. Uh,
Mhm.
but being able to just do one little thing to remember her, whether it's, saying a prayer, speaking out to the universe to talk to her,
Yep.
going and buying a pair of shoes,
Yep.
sending a text to all of the girlfriends that experience this with me. Like it's that connection that helps you heal. And that's something that I absolutely love. And that's one thing that continues. It still hurts, obviously. I've gotten emotional a couple of times just speaking about it.
Right.
Um, it's something that not a lot of people know about me as my background.
Hmm.
I've heard people when they meet me will say, there's something that you hold that I don't know what it is.
Mm.
And inside of me, I know what it is.
Sure. Yeah.
It's this grief, it's this experience. It's like
Yes.
trying to look and live life differently because and in memory of her.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and so all of our girlfriends have little girls that have names that are in remembrance of Brooke.
Oh, that's so
Um,
cool.
so
That's so cool.
she lives on in all of
Yeah.
us
Yep.
because she was just that type of a person.
Yep. You've helped me realize something, that it's okay to have that little bit of grief every little sometimes we try to push it away, and that's not it's just not the way to do it. It's not like it's anger. It's not like anything else like this. This is an acceptance. This is something that we honor, and that's okay as well. I've never thought of it from that point of view, and I appreciate your insights, because I think sometimes we do want to just forget when it's really an act of remembering so that we can progress. And that's just my thinking anyway.
It's beautiful, Maurice. In a world where everything needs to be shiny and perfect, and you're told that put a smile on your face
Yep.
and be, Instagram worthy,
Yep.
so many people have grief as a part of who they are,
Yes.
that grief actually becomes beautiful.
Yeah.
And grief is the pathway to seeing the happiness and joy in your life because it's always a part of you, and that's
Yes.
okay. Don't push that away. It actually allows you to be more empathetic. It allows you to be more loving. It
Yeah.
allows you to be more responsive to the grief of others. Um, I recently um, had a friend who lost a child,
Mhm.
and um, the time for them to be able to engage in the sharing place is not yet. It's still incredibly fresh.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like I have been given a gift to, as Christians will say, mourn with
Yeah.
those who mourn.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And it's not a mourning to fix, to get you better,
Yeah.
to solve this problem, because these problems are not solvable in
Hmm.
any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is just to love and to be. And when you can be and be content,
Yeah.
that is where you're able to find the beauty and peace in all of it.
You are fantastic. I mean, I feel humbled. I have goosebumps everywhere right now just thinking, hearing your story, because it is not only powerful, it's thought provoking, and it lends itself to becoming better. And I cannot thank you enough for being so ridiculously vulnerable. Just wow, wow. And thank you for the teachings that you just gave. It made me better just listening to it. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people that resonate from this. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me a platform to be able to continue to share such an important message.